Hello and welcome to the Warcraft 3 audio commentary. This is going to be a 1v1 game on the Battle.net solo ladder on the map Northern Isles. I'm going to be playing human, and my opponent, Pedro BG, here is going to be playing random, and he draws human, so I've got a human mirror match. This is an interesting map. The expos are not super easy, but they're also not the most difficult, right? There's no magic immune creeps. And stuff like that. You've got like an Ogre Magi, little level 2 Troll Priest, level 2 Ice Troll, level 4 Tuskar Trapper. Right, 4 creeps, Bloodlust, healing, da-da-da. But, and then there's like this orange camp here, Ogre Magi, Tuskar Trapper, Tuskar Warrior, Bloodlust, I think, does it cast Inner Fire? No, just Bloodlust here. And some sort of fairly tanky creeps that do a fair bit of damage, both melee, sort of normal damage, and piercing damage. But yeah, this matchup, as with a lot of matchups, especially in solo, level 3 is going to be sort of a critical timing when you get level 3, because your power level spikes quite substantially with either, if you're Archmage, level 2 water elementals, typically, if you're Blood Mage, which is what I'm going to be going for, this is not really a very common strategy, I don't think. There was a player, Angry Korea Man, that he went Blood Mage frequently. I'm not going to say this is like a takeoff of his strategy, because I think a lot of times he just hard tagged without footmen, so, but yeah, I'm going to be making footmen, and the goal is going to be to get to level 3. He's random, so it's a little bit risky. You have a little bit of leeway between either going Flame Strike or Banish, and then basically you're almost always going to go Mana Siphon, because it's just so strong, and the other two spells are very mana intensive, so you really couldn't afford to do both of them all that effectively without, one or the other without Mana Siphon, right? If you went for both of those abilities, you would be out of mana so fast, and in tier 1, you can get clarity potions or whatever. Now, if you do this with like militia or ancient war creeping, and you do it properly, frequently the enemy just can't really contest this camp. Now, maybe with like footmen or grunts and headhunters, right, maybe the opponent could come over here and maybe contest the camp, right? But typically, human honestly feels like one of the few races that actually could contest this if they power build stuff. If he wanted to power build like his altar and his barracks, maybe his farm or something, and show up, sort of a little bit earlier than he possibly could with the other races, he could, like I said, he could possibly contest this. But otherwise, like most of the time, the player can get it done, especially if they have militia or like ancient war creeping, and they do it properly, right? They can typically finish it. But anyways, he's going to go for green, and then he's going to go for this marketplace. That's going to be his creep route. I don't think it's all that good. Defend footmen are relatively strong to creep the marketplace on this map, because it's like basically all piercing damage. But this also does have Ice Troll High Priest, which is going to cast Frost Armor, which is pretty rough. It also has True Shine Aura. So, defend is still really, really good against this camp, but Frost Armor is also very good against footmen, so you have to be aware of that. And it's just a lot of damage and a decent amount of hit points, right? There's a fair bit of medium armor targets. The two level 4s both have medium armor, but they throw Frost Armor into the mix, and sort of all that, the damage output is going to be drastically reduced as soon as you're hitting something with Frost Armor with a footman. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and creep these two. I corrupt this orange, these two greens, and I'm going to have 1 footman and, 5 militia, or actually 6 militia, or no, yeah, 5 militia. 5 militia just go do this camp, and I'm going to run up here to see if he's expanding or whatever, check if he's seeing what he's crept. I'm going to take a stop. I've got Slippers of Agility that I want to sell. The other 2 items are actually really good for, the Potion of Invulnerability, or also called the Potion of Greater Invulnerability, since it's 15 seconds. The one that you get from creeping instead of buying it from the shop. Really good on a channeling hero, right? I mean, it's good on basically any hero, but especially a hero that's channeling, to the extent that that's a downside. If you are channeling while you're invincible or invulnerable, the downside is just not there for those 15 seconds, so that's great. And I also got a Wand of Lightning Shield. Now, I picked up a Staff of Teleportation and a Boots of Speed and a Circlet. I probably could have skipped out on the boots, right? His move speed is pretty decent anyway, and with the staff, I can generally get into and out of any sort of jam uh, if I use it correctly, right? If I want to get into the space, I can do it, even though it's not walled. The pathing is going to be really weird because he has like a blacksmith. Normally, there's like an L-shaped base for human or whatever. Like there's gonna be like right here. Normally there'd be a spot just to stand and cast Flame Strike, sort of generally a more intuitive spot. I probably could have done it from here, but if you just do it into the fog, for some reason when you do it over buildings, things like Blizzard and Flame Strike and Rain of Fire, if you just do it like that, if you're not standing in range to do it, and then you go over buildings, I don't even know if it's in fog, but if you go over, Lightning Shield is going to just completely wreck his economy. And this is what the strength of Lightning Shield versus human versus most of the other races. It's way more dangerous against a human opponent. Now, I was not the cleanest with the micro. I took a lot of damage on my own units with it, which gives him a little bit of a chance to at least get me out of his base. But he's going to lose like basically his entire economy to do it. And part of that reason is also he decided to go into Rifleman. So he's got level 2 water elementals and Rifleman as a substantial portion, sort of percentage of his damage output. And Defend is very, very good against piercing damage. So I don't really know why he went into Rifleman. Like, Riflemen don't really counter defend footmen. I don't know what else in Tier 1 he was really worried about. There's no flying units in this map, so it's not like he's like, oh, I've got some way to attack flying creeps or whatever. There aren't any, so yeah, I don't really, and I don't think there's a lot of piercing damage creeps on this map too. So I don't really know what he really gains by having riflemen as opposed to footmen for creeping, which is basically all he had done up to this point. And they're actually not good against defend footmen, so maybe he doesn't assume that I've got defend or something like that. But it's I don't know. But anyways, I did have defend. I'm gonna cast Mana Siphon. He used 2 charges of Wanted the Wind when I was Mana Siphoning. He probably should have tried to time it to catch me when I was Flame Striking, because that's going to cost me way more mana if he interrupts a Flame Strike. And I think the cooldown on Flame Strike is probably a little more than Mana Siphon, but the mana cost is a big thing. It's like 135 mana for Flame Strike or something, and it's only 10 mana for Mana Siphon. So, and the cooldown is like 6 seconds for Mana Siphon. So it's like, yeah, you'll stop me Mana Siphoning, but he could just walk out of range. You could argue that he can do the same thing for Flame Strike too. It's just that Flame Strike, like the cast time or whatever, is really, really fast. So, where Mana Siphon, you need like, 2-3 seconds. It's not that you don't get any value in 1 second, right? But if you can move out of the way within like the first 2 or 3 seconds, you don't really have 2 or 3 seconds with Flame Strike. You really have like a second and a half or something, or maybe even a second and a third of a second or something to get out of the way before it starts like sort of cooking everything that it's in the sort of area that you're hitting. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and creep this orange camp, and this is a little bit of a greedy play. It's not really necessary for me to clear this. It's not gonna give me level 5. It'll give me an item, it'll give me closer to 5, and it'll give me access to a gold mine, so if I want an expo, I can potentially do that. Right, but you guys give him a target to show up at and cancel if I don't defend it. But I don't really want to sit there and defend it either. I would like, I'm so ahead in terms of economy that I want to just go keep pushing him and punishing him. I don't want him to get, my tech is behind. I don't want him to get Arcane Sanctums up, which he could actually be building right now. But it would really mess up his economy. So it's like, he decides not to. But he really actually needs those casters. But yeah, doing this and expanding sort of messes up the timing a little bit. It's like, it's not going to pay off for several minutes. And I should be able to win the game within several minutes. So that means there isn't really very much incentive to throw an expo out. So it was actually probably a poor decision for me to expo. This is going to give his MK level 2 because he pulled the Archmage away. This is smart for him to do, but ultimately it's not really. And this is another thing where I thought about creeping this, and I was like, it's got Inner Fire. Let me just get a Zeppelin and go to work. He shows up right on time to cancel the expo, and this is what I'm talking about. Like, if I'm not expanding, he just runs here and there's nothing to hit, and then he runs to my base, and it's he still can sort of do a similar thing where right now he's going to be like, okay, I'm showing up at the base, I'm going to do whatever. but I don't have to cancel a tower and a town hall. I don't have to lose, potentially two peasants running back to the base. Those peasants weren't power built. They power built some of that town hall, so it was a pretty significant cost for me to cancel. A lot of resources invested that didn't really pay off, and it left the peasants exposed, as I mentioned, and they weren't mining during that entire time, right? So all those things point to it wasn't really that useful. Plus, it's like if I get the expo, I was like, why do I need to delay the game any? Like it should. Thunderclap. That really, Thunderclap is the one thing that could maybe sort of push him to get, sort of try to squeeze his way back in this game. Even level one Thunderclap is pretty dangerous when you've got just melee like footmen, militia, stuff like that, right? Notice he did kill quite a lot of my units, but I did actually knock out his town hall completely, and I'm gonna knock out his sanctum. And his hero is out of his MK is only at 50 mana. He needs 75 to hit a Stormbolt, and he needs 90 to hit a Thunderclap. So as long as I can keep him under 75, his MK isn't going to be doing really much of anything. He has, I think, Bolt and Clap. He doesn't have Bash, so he has to have mana to really leverage the MK's sort of mana and power to do something. But I'm just not going to let him do that. I bring this Zeppelin. He actually does have a decent amount of ranged attacks that he could actually threaten that Zeppelin with, but it is, I can sort of draw him, if he's chasing it, I can draw him through my footman. That actually was why I brought the Zeppelin, was full of, footmen that I was attacking with before. So, and I had a staff, so I was like, I can staff the Blood Mage, sort of delay him a little bit, and then get the footman back in there. No big deal. Lightning Shield is when used properly, especially if the opponent's not like really, really precise and sort of on the ball with their unit control, their militia control, or their present control, they will get into trouble against the Lightning Shield, especially if they don't have a tower when you first come in. He eventually got an Arcane Tower up, but like it's a little bit too late once you've like really got most of your workers just completely, obliterated. So Flame Strike, one Lightning Shield, Footman with Defend, or even without in this case, but it's particularly with Defend when you're against rifles and water elementals. All those things are good, good news, and sort of, reasonably well executed from that point of view. But yeah, normally this game goes into like mass spell breakers and like priests and stuff like that, and it's his dual hero or tri-hero combo against if I go just solo blood mage is a little dangerous. If I manage to get level 6, that's actually pretty huge in this matchup, right? Now he was going rifleman. I don't know if he went rifleman because I don't really think I think he was already getting a blacksmith before he even knew how to blood mage. So it would be a bit weird trying to specifically counter the Phoenix way before that I get the Phoenix, but maybe he's seen players that go Blood Mage tend to go air, or maybe it was just, I don't know, maybe just has a weird sort of style. I think he does indeed have a weird style from the games I played against him. He doesn't exactly go standard, even though his, Footman, Archmage, MK, those sort of things, excuse me, those sort of units and heroes do look sort of standardish, but I really definitely don't think getting rifles this time is really any of the standard strategies, um, but yeah, like I said, Lightning Shield, giving yourself the potential to get those big, certain big drops like a Lightning Shield, a Greater Heal Potion, Greater Mana Potion, Greater Invul Potion, things like that. There are definitely other items there instead of the one to the Lightning Shield that could drop that wouldn't be nearly as devastating to him. It's just such a lot of damage potential in such a short time frame. And it really sets up for fighting militia, because if you run in the middle of the base, normally you're like, oh, you ran in the middle of the base, now you have to contend with possibly 12, 13, or whatever militia, which a lot of armies in here just aren't really ideal for. But in this case, if he does just collapse on me with all of his militia, he has to be very careful because of lightning shields, 20 damage a second for 10 seconds. And hitting multiple targets. My goodness, it's like, unless you have perfect unit control, or you're on the ball in terms of saying, oh, this guy's got one lightning shield. Let me get my workers far apart. Let me get them out of the out of the goal line when he's gonna hit that flame strike, and put a lightning shield on the footman, and blah 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 blah. These are things that for sure you can think about as well. But in the end, it wasn't really necessary. I mean, and something the one to the win didn't make the game drastically shorter and much easier for me. And it could have been even, excuse me, it could have been even easier if I would have microed the footman better away from the lightning shield, because it hits your own units. In terms of balance, that little caveat about the item that it can actually hit your allies probably keeps it sort of balanced enough to where it's not like, oh my gosh, this is completely crazy, we've got to change this. It's been around a while. It has received some, nerfs, and stuff like that, but I think it used to have more charges. Mm. But anyways, it's a very dangerous weapon against human when used properly. Now, if you wait and let them get to tier 2, and let them get a Death Priest, and let them get whatever, right? And then they can, have 2 Spearwalkers or Spellbreakers standing there to block your entrance, and, hit on your hero, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you can still staff in, and yeah, you're at range, so it's like, it's nearly impossible for him to completely deny you those, like, juicy flame strike moments. But um, so yeah, we can flip through the score screen here. I beat him in probably most of the categories. I killed more units than him. A lot of these were peasant kills, of course. Largest army, 37-33. He produced more units, but a lot of those were summons. So that's going to explain some of that. I was level 5. He's level 4-2. 4-2 is definitely more dangerous, right? Assuming I'm not really close to 6, right? Having 2 heroes generally seems to beat out having 1 hero. Um, but if you can get that Phoenix is super dangerous, right? You can hide the egg, and if you can hide the egg for 10 seconds, it just is reborn. Like, what? It's not. It's an interesting concept for an ultimate, and it's an ultimate, so it should definitely be powerful. It's just, I've definitely won and lost games on either end of that Phoenix. Either I got the Phoenix and won, or my team got the Phoenix and won, or I. Um, so So yeah, if you can in fact hit level 6, then it does sort of become worth it. If you've got, and again, you typically will have mana, because mana's not even, if you have enough mana to cast the Phoenix, and you need to definitely be paying attention so you don't get caught as an egg in their base or right near their army, right? At least make it difficult for them to completely shut you out of everything. Uh, but yeah, I think typically Archmage MK is, and then probably Paladin third or whatever, is probably the more consistent build, and everything else, right? But the Blood Mage can be fun. He can do some things that other heroes can't do. The ability to steal mana is potentially actually very good, because they level up to 2, they level up to 3, they level up to 4, they level up to 5. If they're leveling all this much, but they don't have the mana to cast, say, Death Coil, but their DK's leveling, they're gonna be like, I want to cast Death Coil, but if they don't have some kind of mana potion or something, you're just gonna keep their mana pool under control. You're gonna try to do the same thing for their team ID, though it could possibly be harder to do that with Steam. I'm not sure. Um, yeah, so, but that's going to be the end of this audio. Again, if you can grab Lightning Shield, typically it's a great idea. Um, but anyways, like I say, you do have definitely a shelf life on the Blood Mage because a lot of people are just going to default into Archmage, MK, Spellbreakers, Priest in some kind of mixture. And Spellbreakers are actually very, very good against the Blood Mage because no Mana Siphon, no Flame Strike, and even the ultimate, the Phoenix, not going to be able to touch the Spellbreakers. So they can surround you with no issue of getting Flame Strike. They don't care. They can be, anywhere on the battlefield. They're not going to have to worry about Mana Siphon and all this stuff. Right? Yeah, there's some other stuff that you maybe need to worry about, but yeah, for sure, this isn't that really complicated or whatever. So, but anyways, that's gonna be the end of this audio. ScryMind signing out.